Hey guys, Eric here, and I want to talk to you real quick about thedailydownforce.com. Every day, this website covers the latest news and trends in NASCAR, from silly season right through the checkered flag in Phoenix. Need a new morning routine as soon as you wake up? Well, now you have it, dailydownforce.com. This is the website I use to keep up with the industry, the drivers, and of course, what the community is talking about. And speaking of community, dailydownforce.com is also home to some of your other favorite NASCAR content creators. Plus, they've got all sorts of information that I like to keep bookmarked, like schedules, penalties, ratings, and everything you want to know. Oh, and be sure to check out the merch shop while you're there to find some exclusive diecasts and collectibles. So check out dailydownforce.com, that's dailydownforce.com, and I'll see you in the replies. Eric Estep here. One of my favorite parts of being a NASCAR fan is collecting diecasts. It's how I got my start on YouTube, actually. To me, a room is not complete until it features shelves of NASCAR diecast cars. It's as good a time as ever to continue your collection or begin an all-new one by pre-ordering your favorite driver's 2022 next-gen diecast at lionelracing.com or at any authorized Lionel retailer. Lionel is the official diecast of NASCAR, and don't miss Lionel Racing's NASCAR Authentics diecasts at a Walmart or Target near you. Not only is Lionel the official diecast of NASCAR, but they're also official supporters of the Out of the Groove podcast network. So what are you waiting for? Head to lionelracing.com to order your favorite driver's 2022 diecast.
You're listening to Maiden Level Cross, presented by Pristine Auctions. I'm Thad Moffitt.
And I'm Rowland George.
And today we're joined by a very special guest who has recently brought a victory back to Level Cross, and that is Mike Skeen. Mike, thanks for joining us today, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah, man. I was pumped to have you on the show, Mike. Let's just start out with that really quick. Well, we're going to return to this topic quite often in the show, but brought home the hardware for Petty's Garage, for Petty Enterprises, for the Petty name. This was a lot bigger than a lot of people thought, and I can tell you from experience, not only because I was there, but the Monday we came back, Richard was elated. I've never seen him so pumped up about something ever. Thad, you might have a differing story with your grandpa about how excited he's gotten, but the guy had his sunglasses off and was telling me how proud he was of Mike and everyone's effort. So from a personal standpoint, that was the coolest thing I've probably ever seen, besides Mike winning it, obviously. But to see the King be so excited and emotional, really special. So let's back up to what I'm talking about in case people have been living under a rock. So a couple weeks ago at Virginia International Raceway, Petty's Garage and a bunch of other guys from Historic Stock Car Racing, they participated in the inaugural NASCAR Classic, which is presented by Petty's Garage. And we brought our A game and we brought our A driver. We took one of Kyle's old cars that last ran in Martinsville in 2006. We brought that out of the storage unit over there, and we had about 3 weeks to get it to spec. Went there, joined a bunch of other guys, Chris Evans, Carlos Gann, a lot of guys, Joe Nemechek, who we'll talk about shortly. But when it counted the most, Mike went out and whooped them, okay? So in case you guys weren't aware of what we're talking about, this is what we're going to be talking about, as well as some things about Mike. But congratulations, Mike. Again, so cool to see this happen. What was going through your mind? Like, take us back to who called you to do it? Was it Greg? Like, who told you to come out and drive the car?
Yeah, it was Greg Stedman called me probably a week and a half, 2 weeks out or something like that, and asked if I wanted to come drive this car because he knew that I was going to be at that IMSA event where they were running the HSR in parallel. And so, yeah, I love running stock cars on road courses. So I said, heck yeah, I'll definitely jump in. I didn't realize it was going to be that big of a deal, to be honest. I thought it was be a few old cars kind of doing demo laps or whatever, and didn't realize there was going to be a real race or that big of a deal. And heard that week when I came and sat in the car at the shop that Richard was going to come out on the Friday and see qualifying and stuff like that. And yeah, it turned out to be a much cooler event than I knew going into it, and had a lot of fun. And it was awesome to spend some time with the King and chat with him about some of his old stories when he first raced there at VIR, and So that was a lot of fun. And like I said, anytime driving one of those old cup cars on a road course is a blast. And so it was a good time. I think it was kind of that run what you brung kind of deal, broad range of cars and a lot of Gen 5, Gen 6 cars and this pre-COT car that we were running and stuff back to like the 70s, 80s even. So yeah, it was cool to see such a wide range of equipment come out and guys that were taking it real serious, guys that were just there for fun. It was a broad spectrum, but it was a good time and had some good racing too involved. So it was fun.
One of the things that I recall from the first time you went out, right? You got introduced to everyone at the garage area. When you first went out, okay, so picture this, everybody. We got Friday morning. The car is fresh from our shop. We haven't broken it in. Everything has just been assembled. Mike goes out and just rips one down the straightaway at VIR. And Greg and a couple other guys are just looking at each other saying, man, he's getting after it. And like, man, we hope these brakes last. What was going through your mind? Did you have any doubt that the thing was going to carry you through? I mean, is there any inkling like, I'm getting into this, what is it, over 20-year-old stock car or almost 20-year-old stock car, and you're putting your faith in these guys?
Yeah, I mean, certainly a lot of faith in the guys, a lot of experience within that group of mechanics that were putting it all together. And I know they know what they're looking at and they can bolt a thing together. They could probably do it in their sleep. So I knew a lot of the equipment was good and all that. And, if there was going to be something wrong, I could probably feel something loose or whatever, not quite right, and could bring it in. But on the warm-up lap, felt fine and just figured we start going for it since we had 1 20-minute practice, I think. I wanted to try to get a decent number of laps in, make sure the thing's going to run hot if it's going to run hot or whatever, get a proper heat cycle on everything. And yeah, just get to it right off the bat. We were also running an old ancient set of tires I think they had laying around, so it wasn't the right compound even that we were going to qualify on. So yeah, I just wanted to go out there and make sure we get a little bit of a read on what the car was going to do and see if we could do anything to make it better for that one qualifying we had.
Most of your experience has been like on the road courses, so you haven't done a ton of stock car stuff. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. I've done a handful of stock car races and had some of these guys now that are doing like track day cars with old stock cars and stuff, gotten to drive some of those, but definitely haven't had the chance to do like a whole lot of NASCAR racing. Love it, but it's just, I grew up doing the road race sports car kind of stuff more, and that's just the path that I found myself in with the opportunities. But yeah, I've always had a love and interest in it. Lived in the Southeast and been really close to a lot of the guys that are racing stock car stuff. So it's been of interest all forever, basically.
Yeah. How did the car prepared at Petty's Garage, like compared to like the IMSA stuff that you drive? I drove TA2 last year, so it wasn't like way different than NASCAR stuff, but there's still a lot different, like between the TA2 car and a truck or an Xfinity car. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, the TA2 car is the most similar, the stuff that I drive, to a stock car. Obviously, the TA2 is a bit lighter and lower power, but a good tire, so lap time wise is pretty close and driving style wise is pretty close to a stock car. But all the IMSA cars, it's like way more downforce, lower center of gravity, usually lower power. So it's like super high commitment level running the sports car stuff because it's more of a momentum car kind of than a stock car. Whereas small tire, big horsepower in a stock car, you're always trying to manage wheel spin and brakes aren't great. So the brake zones are twice as long as like an IMSA car. But yeah, I mean, physics are physics. A guy that can get either one around pretty well can usually figure out the other. But there's definitely, the inputs are a lot different and just the way you make speed in them is quite a bit different.
Mike, let's go back because we'll revisit all this. Love to learn more about you. Let our audience, learn who Mike Skeen is. You said you grew up in the Southeast, Durham, I believe. So talk to us about your childhood. What got you into racing and that journey, right? From a kid growing up in Durham to where you are today. What's that journey been like and how did you get started?
Yeah, so my dad was always a car guy. He wasn't making a living in any kind of industry with car stuff, but he just loved cars, worked on cars, tinkered with them. He started go-kart racing just before I was old enough to do it. So I was following him to the track and working on him. He was in the Navy and then retired. And that's when we actually ended up in Durham and we were close to VIR, started doing some track days there and stuff. And just, love motorsports, love watching F1, NASCAR, all the stuff on, all the stuff that I could find on TV and doing sim and video game stuff whenever I could, and just started playing with go-karts, and then built a Spec E30 BMW, which is like a little spec race, kind of like a Spec Miata or something, just with a BMW. And started racing that when I was like 19 or 20, and won a bunch of championships and races in that, and met some guys that were racing Corvettes and stuff in Trans Am, and got some opportunity there and World Challenge and Grand Am. It just snowballed from there, going down the sports car side, and kept finding opportunities to go race on Grand Am, IMSA, World Challenge, stuff like that. Like I said, did a couple of one-offs here and there in some stock car road races, but for the most part was just, taking any opportunity I could find in anything, and that was sports cars. So I was doing a lot of that.
What's been your all-time favorite so far, besides, the stock car experience you just had? Like, what's been the most rewarding, I guess? We can go through most rewarding, most challenging, and the most fun you've had. So let's tackle those three if you can.
Well, one of the recent ones that's been the most fun for me was I drove this little prototype car. It's called an LMP3 Elige. So it's got like massive downforce, and it was a retired pro race car that a guy had done an LS engine swap into. So it had like plus 100 or 150 horsepower over what they raced them in IMSA with. And the car was just hugely fast. We ran at VIR just on a test day, and we did a minute 37 lap around the full course there, which is like 15 seconds or something faster than we just did in the stock car. So yeah, huge speeds, full speed, flat up the uphill S's, which is like 170 miles an hour in one of those cars. And so that to me was one of the most challenging and rewarding cars, because it's different to a lot of the things I drive compared to the full body, like GT style car, kind of wrapping your head around and using all that downforce and trusting it in the high speed stuff and the brake zones. Like, it's just kind of a mind game a little bit on trusting yourself to take advantage of that kind of car. As far as like just racing and the love of racing or the enjoyment out of the racing itself, I would say TA2 or some of the stock car stuff I've done, but I've been able to find more competitive rides in the TA2 stuff. So I've been able to race for wins and stuff there, and the racing's so close, and you can door bang a little bit just like in the NASCAR stuff and be aggressive and race really hard. Whereas in a lot of the GT stuff, like, because they're more aerodynamic dependent, it's a little bit tough to race really close, and it ends up being, there's more strategy to the races, and it's less like on the driver. It's more about the whole team environment, the endurance aspect of it. And so you're doing like these really long stints and just working on fuel saving or whatever to try to make the in-game work out well. Whereas in the TA2 stuff, it's just sprint race, go for it, no pit stops, hard racing. And that's, to me, the most fun part about it, is when it's kind of all on the driver and you got to just dig down and go for it,
I completely agree. The TA2 stuff was definitely a lot of fun for me last year. Totally different world from anything I've done. Have you driven any oval track stuff?
Not much. I would love to try it. I did a tiny bit back in go-karts, but never really had the chance to do any at a big level.
Yeah.
What about you? I mean, you've kind of grown up in that realm a little bit more, right?
Yeah. So I ran only oval stuff up until last year. Last year was my first year ever road racing, and we went to the TA2 series to do that, which was highly competitive, like you said, but it was a lot of fun learning how to drive those cars and learning how to do the different stuff. And I missed the VIR weekend. That's really cool. What would you say that meant to you, like with the paint scheme and the Victory Junction and having everybody there? Like Grandpa was there, obviously, to be able to finish off the weekend the way you did, and battling Joe Nemechek all weekend, as I understand. I didn't get to watch it, but from what I understand, it was a pretty tight battle between the two of you. Yeah,
it was, like I said, really cool. It was an honor to drive the car with that livery and that history, and also having Richard there, and the experience of it, like I said, was much bigger than I expected going into it. I didn't think it was really going to be much of a show or much pomp and circumstance, if you will. Like, it was cool that we were also paddocked right there by the entry to the whole paddock garage area. So everybody that was coming in to check out the IMSA race cars was seeing all these historic stock cars and coming straight to our tent, basically looking at the Petty's garage stuff. And so there's a lot of foot traffic coming through and everybody loving that. And checking out some of the older cars too. And so being a part of that bigger picture stuff was a lot of fun, and being able to represent somebody so iconic within this industry. And, even for guys that are more from the sports car world, like everybody loved watching those stock cars go around. Like all the IMSA crew guys I know would stop what they were doing, come out, watch the cars go around. Every one of them coming in the morning at the crack of dawn, we're stopping at the tent to look at the old cars, and before they went and did their day job on the new stuff. And so it's just cool to be a part of all of that. And like you said, Racing Joe Nemechek, I've known him for a while, actually drove one of his trucks back in 2020. And yeah, it was a blast racing against him. I think we kind of brought a knife to a gunfight compared to what he brought out, but yeah, he definitely had some speed, but it was good that we managed to get the win in the end. But had some good battles for sure. In the first race, I thought we'd get him on the outright pace and make a move on him, but it was, we had a good back and forth with him and Ryan, who works under his tent, his mechanic over there with all his cars at NIMCO. Yeah, a couple fast guys were out there. It was a good time.
Yeah, I remember, gosh, the whole weekend was just really cool. You're living in the moment, and when it's happening, and Thad, you know this now because I told you, but so my job was to chronicle this whole thing, right? I'm not a photographer. I'm not a social media guy. I don't do any of that stuff. But that was my role at the track, make sure I got everything captured as best as I could. It was amazing not only seeing Mike interact with our guys, with fans that came up, with competitors, but just how everybody was just obsessed with our little contingent of stock car racing guys. Like Mike said, the IMSA guys are coming early in the morning just to check out what we were doing. And then apparently, I don't know if this is confirmed, maybe someone from VIR can reach out. Apparently the gate sales were up by 30% for that weekend, and they attribute that not only just because of IMSA, but because the stock car guys were there. So, Mike, what do you feel this future of the series holds? I mean, is this something you want to do more? Because we're going to call on you again to do something with us. Do you feel like the series has a future? I know Jim France definitely wants to hear yes, but based on what you saw at VIR and a couple of races we have left at Watkins Glen this weekend and the Roval, do you feel like this series has legs to stand on?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of interest in the cars and seeing them get out there, even if it's not, the NASCAR stars of yesteryear that are driving them. People love to see those cars. And you go to a cup race now and you can't really go down the garage. You can't see them up and close, where you can go right up to the car and look under the hood to one of these events and chat with the car owner, get a much closer understanding of what you're watching on track. And like I said, I mean, there's very current cars. I think Chase Elliott's Road America winning car from a year or two ago, whatever was there in the race. So you can go see stuff that was just raced last year or 30 years ago or whatever, and everything in between. And it's fun for all those car owners now that can bring them out of hibernation and take them somewhere that they can the cars can get seen and enjoyed and heard, rather than just running them at a track day or just sitting them in the garage in their warehouse or whatever. It's a great idea, I think, to get these things out and hear them, and not just at the NASCAR events. I think it was really cool, actually, probably cooler in my mind, to have it at the IMSA weekend, because it's so different to everything else on that weekend. When you're watching sports cars and Miatas and whatever else is going on, Porsche Cup, all that stuff, and then you roll out these big, loud, obnoxious V8s, everybody turns their head and looks for what's going on. And I think it's just so cool to get that other side of the sport and either introduce people to that or give people another opportunity to see that in kind of a different light. So yeah, I think it definitely has some legs, and hopefully they'll keep doing a handful of them every year, and also kind of drag out some of the retired drivers and let them have a shot at them again and interact with fans in a more low-key environment and enjoy that side of it too.
Totally agree.
We like to think that it's going to continue to grow too. So what would you say is a next step for you here in your racing career? Where do you want to go from here? You want to do some more NASCAR style stuff or some more IMSA style stuff? Or
Yeah, I love it all. I mean, so actually I am going to be doing the Xfinity race this weekend for Peterson, who I ran TA2 with before. They're bringing out a second car to run alongside Austin Green. So I'm going to be back in an Xfinity car. This is actually probably one of the better, pieces of equipment that I've run over there too. So hopefully have a shot to actually race up midfield or upper midfield, which will be a blast. And hopefully can do some more of those next year. We've talked about doing a couple of them. So we'll see how that goes. Would love to try some ovals if that fits in. Honestly, would even love doing kind of like an Xfinity or truck full-time schedule if if I found the right opportunity to do it well. It's hard to like leave what I'm doing unless there's a good alternative. But like I said, I love every side of the sport. I've done Baja, I've done Pikes Peak Hill Climb, won them both, and race of the Nürburgring 24-hour. Like I love every bit of motorsport. So I want to try everything I can. I think that'll largely consist of continuing the sports car stuff. That'll be kind of the bread and butter. But anytime I get a chance to do some cool racing, an Xfinity car or whatever, I'm all in for sure.
So you have no plans of slowing down by any means, right?
No plan anytime soon.
What would be the ideal situation? I mean, you just mentioned if the opportunity came with a NASCAR ride, but like in your mind, like 10-year-old Mike Skeen, he's looking forward to the future. What is like the ultimate, what's the ultimate deal for you? Like if you had any financial means weren't a roadblock opportunity-wise, if you could just zap yourself into a situation, do you know what you would do? I
mean, definitely when I was 10 years old, the goal was Formula One. I loved open wheel stuff. I was chasing that IndyCar F1 side of things more. Then I got 6'3" and decided the open wheel ladder was probably not the best way to go. And so started chasing, GT stuff and whatnot. And yeah, so knowing what I know now, I probably would have chased the NASCAR side of it earlier. And especially as more and more road kit courses started to hit the calendar, like I love that balance of doing both, versus when it was just like 2 weekends a year. So yeah, I mean, it would have been really awesome, I think, to shoot for the stars and go cup racing or something like that. Probably not in the mix for me now, but yeah, doing some Xfinity or truck stuff. Like I said, if it were full time and a pretty good piece of equipment that could go win some races, that'd be a blast. I'd love to do some of that.
I'll note on your height, because me and you are the same height. I was like kind of impressed. I was like, wow, tall guys can race. And there's plenty of tall guys racing, right? But like I can't fit in anything Thad fits in. It's a struggle to get in most of these race cars. With the exception of your TA car, that was pretty easy to get in. But Mike gave me hope. I'm like, if he could fit in that Charger, maybe I could do that one day, right? It's a pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely tougher with those older cars too. The little window.
Yeah,
Rowland, you need to drive the next race.
Well, I'm here to announce that I am the next driver at Watkins Glen, everybody.
Man.
That will be our next recap. Hopefully, our next guest or guest in the future will be the next driver at Watkins Glen, which I know a lot of you out there who listen will be excited to know who that is. It's not Kyle Petty, but we're getting close to trying to convince him to do the Roval. So keep your fingers crossed. Mike, before we let you go, you and Thad, both the race car drivers, you guys have competed against each other, if I'm not mistaken, right? In TA?
Yeah.
You ever recall putting the door to Thad or, laying rubber down?
I think we had too many run-ins. Like we only crossed over a couple races. I remember, Sebring last year, I had some kind of mechanical when we were racing together. Yeah. But we haven't had I don't remember knocking you off the track or anything.
No, I don't think we didn't race each other a ton. I ran the TA2 stuff full time, and you ran 3 or 4 races in the TA2 stuff.
I think I did 4 races last year.
And yeah, Sebring was the first time that we raced against each other, and then Detroit was a disaster for everybody, kind of. And I think you got in some trouble in Detroit.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody had their bodies tore up. I think we put a nose on in the streets. Me and Greg put a nose on my race car before the second race. So yeah, it was kind of a mess, but I think those are the only couple of races that we ran against each other, and it was not any big issues.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get a chance to race somewhere again.
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully you can get some more Xfinity opportunities, maybe some truck opportunities. I'd like to see you on the road courses and that stuff. I think that's really good for our sport. Like Shane Van Gisbergen coming over and running good in the NASCAR stuff has brought a whole new audience, a whole new fan base that maybe didn't pay much attention to NASCAR. And I feel the same way about an IMSA guy coming over. I know that we have Joey Ham come over sometimes. And I mean, we've had all kinds of people come do one-off deals. I mean, my car owner last year, Scott Lagacy, ran for a handful of years in the Xfinity stuff, even though he was predominantly a road course guy growing up. So, yeah, it's been a good mix of drivers here lately. So hopefully you can get some more opportunities in that stuff, and hopefully we see a lot more of you.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a whole lot of fun. I mean, all the crossover stuff I think is a blast, trying out those different types of racing. And it's for sure, it's a huge, very high level of competition. So it's hard to jump in on a one-off and be good. But obviously we've seen guys do it like Shane, and, I'm always up for the challenge. It's a good time. And if nothing else, the racing's a lot of fun, even if you're in a piece of crap at the back. So it's a good time.
Yeah, what's better than racing? Well, I got to say this, Mike, it's been fantastic talking to you. You were awesome at the track to everybody. Would definitely want to have you back on board in some capacity there. We're big fans, big Mike Skeen fans at the shop. You brought home the trophy. That's what's really cool too, right? So I'll end with this. So when Richard was getting all somewhat emotional, I know your grandpa doesn't get too emotional, but he gets excited, right? Especially when he takes his sunglasses off. Something's either there's a big issue or there's something really good around the corner. He kept on saying, this is the first time a race car out of this shop has won a race since 1999. And we all just paused for a moment and thought about that in that moment. And I was like, wow, Mike, he's not only got his name in the NASCAR Classic history book, right? He won the first inaugural exhibition race, but he's part of that legacy, right? His stuff was made in level cross. He was made in level cross vicariously through the race. So I really geek out on stuff like that, and I really appreciate you bringing your A game, Mike. From the bottom of my heart, I say this on behalf of all our guys. We were so super proud of you, and we cannot thank you enough for representing the garage, representing Victory Junction, Petty Enterprises, and most importantly, Adam. I mean, what you did for Adam's legacy, it had ripples. I mean, we had some emotional fans that were there, and they're like, Mike brought his A game. And just want to thank you. Couldn't have picked a better driver to pilot that number 45. So thanks.
Thank you guys. It was an honor, real pleasure. Had fun hanging out with everybody and driving the car. And yeah, looking forward to doing another one sometime.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
No problem.
We'll be right back. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Pristine Auction is the most trusted sports memorabilia and collectibles auction site. Auctions on pristineauction.com start at just $1, and each day, thousands of signed items are available. So you win signed, authentic items at affordable prices. Every item on pristineauction.com comes with a certificate of authenticity from the industry's most reputable authenticators.
PristineAuction.com is your one-stop shop for all authentic signed diecast, helmets, trading cards, photos, and so much more of your favorite drivers.
All right, Thad, I found something. It's my cat's birthday coming up in a couple weeks here, and I know just the gift to give her. Joey Logano signed NASCAR championship photo. Signed, baby. Starting at $50 right now at PristineAuction.com. I think I'm going to put my bid in right now.
Well, that would be a good get, Rowland. But with football season coming up, or just started this past weekend, I've got my eye on a Brett Favre signed football. Brett Favre was one of my favorite NFL players growing up, so yeah, it'd be really good to get my hands on something like that.
Upgrade your collection today and get $10 off your first win using registration code THAD. Again, that's registration code THAD for $10 off your first order. Links are in the show notes.
Oh my God, this is so good.
What are you eating?
Some tasty duck, Thad. What do you think?
Some of America's tastiest duck.
That's right. So for our friends at Joe Jurgowitz and Son, raising America's tastiest duck is the family business. As a fourth-generation family-owned company, Joe Jurgowitz and Son is proud to sponsor Thad Moffitt and the number 46 truck, and proud to offer our podcast listeners 20% off at tastyduck.com. So visit tastyduck.com to shop Joe Jurgowitz and Son's delicious range of whole ducks, duck parts, and more. At checkout, enter the code THAD in all caps for for 20% off. Again, go to tastyduck.com, enter THAD to get America's tastiest duck delivered to your door for how much off, Thad?
20% off.
20% off, baby. Visit tastyduck.com and make sure you keep on quacking. Quack, quack. Camera Logistics, serving Southwest Virginia for over 25 years. These guys offer third-party logistics services such as warehousing, storage, retrieval, inventory management, local transportation services. They do it all. Camera has 11 locations spanning from rural Retreat, Virginia, right up on to Lexington, Virginia. They are so very proud to be sponsoring at Bristol. It's Bristol, baby. Visit camera.com for more information. We are back after talking to Mike Skeen. What an awesome guy, Thad.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I didn't really know a lot about Mike or like his racing history, his background. I knew I'd raced against him a couple times in the TA2 stuff, but didn't really know a lot about him personally. And it seemed like he was just kind of trying to get a chance in motorsports in general and make his way up the ladder, more on the sports car side than the NASCAR side like I've done. Probably why our paths didn't cross very much. But, yeah, it was cool to get to know that he was a big avid karter and kind of wanted to do some IndyCar stuff and then just kind of worked his way into opportunities on the sports car side, which ultimately led to a couple of NASCAR starts, one including the Watkins Glen Xfinity race, and then, yeah, and the Petty's Garage car.
Yeah, Mike is personally, I heard of Mike when you were driving TA2, but when Greg told me that he was going to be our driver, I'm like, I looked him up. I said, this guy seems pretty good. When he got in the car, I was like, this guy is a silent assassin. Like, you know, he wasn't talking much. He just strikes me as someone who gets the helmet on, does the job, and just goes home. Like, which is awesome. Like, I'm a Mike Skeen fan, and I'll be rooting hard for him at Watkins Glen this weekend. But, dude, a lot's happened in a way for you. I don't know why I just said that. I'm talking more about your heel injury. All I've heard is updates on your foot. So
hasn't been a lot happening for me. We've had like 2 weeks off after Milwaukee in a row, 4 weeks off. But, yeah, this NASCAR schedule right now is like weird. Like you don't race for a month. And
I was being sarcastic. Not a lot has happened except your heel. So
yeah, we did.
How's your heel doing?
It is still very nasty and very burnt. So for those of you that don't know, which is probably almost everybody because I haven't posted it anywhere.
Everybody, yeah, this is the first time they're hearing about it.
The floorboard got so hot at Milwaukee that it burnt through my shoe and it burnt this massive blister onto my heel, which I cannot get to heal, which is strange.
It's because you're saying heel wrong. You're saying hill.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's how I talk.
Yeah, I know. Sorry to hear that.
It needs to heal up or we'll be in trouble.
Well, while your heel was healing, Austin Heel won at Atlanta. Number 7, baby.
I think that the Xfinity race was almost better than the Cup race.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I mean, it was like interesting the whole time. I thought I watched the whole thing and felt like the Cup race was pretty boring until the end. Maybe,
yeah,
like the whole Penske Hendrick up front, just kind of battling each other for the win was like, okay, this race is okay, but it's not my favorite race. It's kind of like when they say fuel at Daytona is what I felt like I was watching.
Yeah. I got mixed emotions about new Atlanta, repaved Atlanta. I mean, what is this?
How do you feel about it?
Well, I'll tell you how I feel about it. Or should I say feel about it? I'll tell you how I feel about it. I don't mind it. It just, I don't know. I'm becoming more and more a grumpy old man in terms of NASCAR. I'm one of these fans like, oh, I wish it was the way it used to be. Granted, it's been exciting finishes at Atlanta. I went to the Atlanta race where Chase Elliott won. That was pretty cool. I was actually rooting for him, and I'm not a Chase Elliott fan by any means. It was cool to see him win at his home track, and it was pretty neat seeing all these cars run by like a super speedway. But growing up, I don't remember Atlanta ever being that because it wasn't. So it's definitely different. I can appreciate it. It's definitely drawn more of a crowd because I don't know if you know this, Thad, but apparently Atlanta sports market is the worst place for fans. More so, like Atlanta apparently has the worst fans. So I don't know if you ever heard that, but
no, I've never heard that. You just made that up, right?
I did. No, I swear to God, I've heard this because whenever I've gone to Atlanta, I talk to people I'm staying at the hotel at, or I'm striking up conversation at a restaurant. I do that with strangers, and they always complain about Atlanta fans, and I always thought that was odd because I know a ton of people who are Braves fans, but from what I've heard, and look this up, fact check me, Atlanta's got a poor sport fan market. I'm not saying their sports suck. It's their fans. So I don't even know where I'm going with this thought, man. You totally threw me off guard.
You're saying that the new style of racetrack brought in
yes, thank you. Yes,
new fans, but
no, yes.
I agree with that statement. I think it is more exciting racing. I just don't think Atlanta's big enough for a restrictor plate style race. I mean, it's so hard for them to push like they do at Daytona and keep it exciting on a track that small because you see what happens just when they're out there running by themselves. How the track has aged in the last couple of years is incredible. It's gone from having grip where you could run wide open in any lane like Daytona and not think twice about it to where Kyle Larson's running around single car in line, third in line in dirty air and just completely loses it because the track has no grip.
I don't know what that was about. That was crazy.
Well, he wasn't the only one. Everybody said all day, they're like, dude, it's loose. This place has lost so much grip. We can't race like we were racing before. So I think it's on its way back to a more standard mile and a half where you do have to get out of the gas, where the racing is a little bit better. But I think we're maybe a little bit a ways away from that. From what I understand, I never ran Old Atlanta, but from the driver's perspective, Old Atlanta and Old Texas were two of the best mile and a halves. And then they reconfigured both of them.
Agreed. Everyone gives Texas such crap, which, again, is it justified? Perhaps. But I love Texas. I didn't like some of the recent racing, but that agreed. Atlanta and Texas had some of the best racing in the early to mid-2000s. Just definitely love those places. Here's something I caught. This is a very random thought, but, the winner's Joey Logano. Obviously, he sneaks his way into the next round. I'm not a Joey Logano fan. Like the guy, nice guy, but don't really want to see him win too much. But he said something interesting. Again, totally random thought. Did you hear him say something about living in the apartments at Atlanta?
Yeah.
I lived there for 8 years. I was trying to do the math. I'm like, when did he live there? And why would he live there?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, but I didn't realize he said 8 years.
I'll have to go back and see. It was a significantly long time, unless he said 8 months. But still, who lives there in Hampton, Georgia for an extended period of time?
That's where he was. That's where he grew up.
No, he grew up in Middletown, Connecticut.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. He raced in Atlanta Motor Speedway forever, though.
Right, but was it? I don't know.
Probably lived there because he did the
Bandoleros. Okay,
yeah.
So maybe that was the case, but still, maybe it's I don't know. It was kind of a strange.
A lot of people live in Turn 1 in Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah, I do.
I almost did.
That sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
If you're a race fan, who wouldn't want to wake up every morning, eat eggs and drink your coffee looking at a racetrack, whether there's cars on it or not? I know I would.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be awesome.
You didn't live too far away from.
No, I lived 2.5 miles from the speedway, but
why was that too? I'm always curious. That's always a fascinating deal. Brennan Poole told me that him and Suarez were roommates at one point. They're pretty good friends. Why were you so close to Concours? Because of most of the shops are there? It was just easy.
Yeah, because at the time I was racing for David Gilliland,
Okay.
and his shop was over there, and like it just made sense to be. And I had a 20-minute drive to the shop, 20-minute drive to work versus what I have now, which is like an hour and 20-minute commute to get there.
And let me clarify, it's not confusing if you have like a full-time ride, like in the Cup Series, but for people starting out in the sport, I just thought it was interesting that a lot of guys live. I guess it's not weird. Now that I'm thinking through my question, it's kind of a stupid question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for affirming my stupidity.
Don't you like to live close to where you work? I mean, most people do.
Absolutely,
like
dude.
A short commute.
Absolutely.
So why would you move to Concord to race?
I guess, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Like every episode of Made in Level Cross. So you got some racing coming up here pretty soon. Any track in particular you're excited about? Coming back to a few. Martinsville, Bristol.
Yeah, Martinsville and Bristol will be cool to be able to return to. And then obviously going to places like Homestead where we've never been, or Phoenix I haven't ran at since my ARCA days. Last time I was there, I ran third in the ARCA car to Ty Gibbs and Corey Heim. So really looking forward to getting back there and hopefully being competitive. I think that was always a really good track for me. Phoenix will be a ton of fun. It always is a ton of fun. It's like a racetrack in a mountain range with a beautiful views. So that's always a really cool place to go. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the rest of the year holds and hopefully string together some decent finishes, and looking forward into 25 and what we can put together there, hopefully in a different series than the truck series, maybe a handful of truck races, but yeah, we'd like to do something else maybe.
Something else. Well, in preparation for something else, tell the fine folks what you did this weekend. We got a little device that's going to...
Simcraft. Our folks at Simcraft came up from Atlanta, Georgia, we were just talking about, and installed the Apex 6 machine here at Petty's Garage. So yeah, super excited about that machine and to get some more seat time and prepare a little better for some of these racetracks that we're going to in the latter part of the year, and some of the new racetracks that I'll be running possibly in 25.
Very exciting. The rig looks pretty good and got some cool swag and memorabilia around the little sim area. Got some flags from looks like I saw Marcos Ambrose's Watkins Glen flags.
Yeah, I think there's a Casey Kane win flag in there.
Yeah,
somewhere.
From Sonoma. Very cool.
Yeah. So, who's your pick for the championship 4?
Oh, we're just going to jump into that?
I want to know who your pick is. You're talking about the playoffs and Joe Logano scooting his way into the next round.
Yeah. Well, I kind of like the way your grandpa and Dale did it. They just they gave their picks and they picked them out of a hat. They picked Denny Hamlin out of the hat, which I thought was pretty good. But I don't know. What do you want to do for this program? Do you just want to talk about, do you want to give each other's brackets, or do you want to?
What do you think if we just did who's going to get eliminated each round?
Okay, I like that.
If you get it wrong, then you can still got a chance next week. You know what I mean?
That's right. I like the sound of that. All right, so we got our playoff grid laid out. So the round of 16, we're kind of got a head start because we got one race down. So kind of know who's in the danger zone. But you want to start off?
I will, because I believe that your boy, after this weekend, I know you're a huge Chase Briscoe fan, is kind of in a must-win in the next 2 races unless he can make up a ton of stage points in both races, and a lot of other people have bad days. So I think that probably he's one of the first ones to go home. The 19 team, I don't really see them going much further, just because of the year that they've had and how they've had so much bad luck. And obviously Martin wasn't very happy with the way the car drove at Atlanta. So I'd see those two probably going home. Harrison Burton in the 21, and let's see, maybe Ty Gibbs.
All right, so you got Gibbs, Burton, Truex, and Briscoe going home.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I do love me some Chase Briscoe, and I was absolutely stunned and thrilled, so excited that he won the Southern 500 in Tony Stewart fashion, defying the odds. Mathematically, he's down there, man, but do you believe in miracles? I think Chase Briscoe can do something these next two races. I really do. At least I hope. So, in the spirit of my Chase Briscoe fandom, I believe he's going to move on. Here's who I think is not. I think Brad Keselowski is going to go out at the end of this round. I think Harrison Burton for sure. He's not a strong road course racer, and just the season he's had so far doesn't really get me excited about his chances going forward. I've seen crazier stuff happen though. Let's see who else. I got two more guys to pick. I think Ty Gibbs makes it another round. Watkins Glen's very strong for him. He's a good road course racer. I do think Truex goes home. And I got one more guy. If I'm going to pick one more guy, I see if Cindric didn't have such a good points day at Atlanta, we'd be talking a different story. But I think he's going to fumble. I think these next two races are going to be interesting. He's a decent road course racer, but the field's pretty much stacked with road course aces there. You got the Bell, you got Reddick, you got Young Money, Hung Money, Larson. You got Chase Elliott, who was on a tear on road courses a few years ago, if you remember. I think Hamlin might go out and win next week if NASCAR doesn't sabotage his car due to not signing his charter. So that's my four. Truex, Burton, Keselowski, and Cindric.
Okay.
We'll see where they end up.
Yeah, I think that
But we should declare who we got to say right now so we can look back and either say we're so smart or we're a bunch of idiots that don't know what we're talking about. Who's your pick to win it all? Let's go. Wait, go back. Who's your pick for the Final Four, and then tell me who your pick is to win it all.
Larson, Reddick, Final Four, Byron, and let's go Ryan Blaney again.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go to win it all, though. I mean, you never know. You go into Phoenix and you really never know. Kyle Larson's had a couple of really bad Phoenix races and a couple of really good Phoenix races. I don't know. William Byron's really good at Phoenix. He's won the spring race there. Was that this year or last year? Last year. He run good there. Obviously, every time he's there. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think early prediction, let's go Larson gets a second.
Okay, Kyle Larson gets a second. We all know Chase Briscoe's going to win it all. Okay, he's going to win the – No, as much as I love Briscoe and I would be going crazy if he does win the championship, unfortunately, I don't see him going all the way unless something crazy happens. My Final Four, I think you're going to have William Byron. I think Blaney makes it again. I think Tyler Reddick somehow makes it. And Seabell.
So no Kyle Larson is the only difference.
No. I think he chokes at the very final round. If he makes it the final. I think he'll make it to the round of 8. But, all right. They've made some just goofy mistakes that's very uncharacteristic of Larson and Cliff Daniels. So
I agree.
But my pick for championship is Christopher Bell. I think this is the year Christopher Bell wins. He's been in the last 2 Final Four. And he's, again, right? I'm right about that, right? He was in last year's.
Yeah, he's been in the last 2 Final Fours.
I've been to both those Phoenix races, and let me tell you something. They've had the snafus, but I was at the pit boxes each time, and I was very impressed of what I saw. I think Seabell gets it done, and I think he gets Joe Gibbs his 6th championship. Did I do that right? Labonte, Stewart, Kyle Busch, 2. Yeah, number 6. We shall see, Thad.
I think Christopher Bell in the year he had is a good choice, but he just has bad luck, man. Like, he should have won that race at Gateway, and what did they say happened? Something with a lifter went bad or something. He was able to finish the race, but he lost so much power.
Gibbs guys have had some crazy, stupid engine failures.
Yeah, like I think it's gonna and the way that Gibbs came into the playoffs at Atlanta, I mean the 11 qualified dead last, the 19 struggled all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher got in a wreck. 54 was running up front, but he ultimately didn't finish. Like
Christopher had in a wreck?
Yeah, well, I think
he finished 4th though.
I think he might have caused the wreck.
Oh, okay.
No, he didn't. He didn't get in the. Did he hit the one? He hit the one on the last lap.
Yeah, maybe he caused the penultimate. Who knows? Well, interesting. So we'll see how we end up at Phoenix. Me and you are going to be there. I think maybe not. We'll be there at the truck race. That's the more important race.
We'll see. So
I know we are not competing for a championship, but it's not about championships. It's about making friends and
that is not true.
Having a good time, right?
No, it is not about that.
It's about winning, ladies and gentlemen. It's all that matters. Well, you got any, what do I say, pearls of wisdom?
Do you have any pearls of wisdom is usually what you ask me.
Yeah. Do you got any?
My pearl of wisdom for this week will be, do not forget your booties when you're running a race.
That should be, we should have a poll. Do people want to see this disgusting heel on Instagram? Do you think it'd be flagged content?
Probably.
You want to try it?
Not really, but I'll do it.
Listen, here's a test. For anybody who wants to see it, we should have a let's do a story on your Instagram, and then we'll have like a voting, a poll. Is that what they call them things? Polls?
Yeah.
Would you like to see Thad's disgusting, gangrenous heel from Milwaukee?
I don't know about that, man.
There'll be an overwhelming yes.
You think it'll be a yes?
No, I don't know. I saw it, and I don't want to see it again. That was just, like I was telling you, it's different. Here's a fun fact about me that nobody's going to really care about, but I enjoy watching medical programming. I like watching, 600-pound, what do you call it? You ever see those shows?
Yeah, my 600.
Yeah, Super Beast People. I like there's a foot doctor show where they just repair toes and heels, and fascinated by that. The human body is absolutely amazing. But what I was telling you, if you remember, is when I see someone that I know personally that happens to, I'm not a big fan. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to see that. It's gross. It's nasty. And I want your foot to heal. So hopefully you don't need a skin graft and you can go back driving pretty soon.
I don't think I do. I don't think the skin graft is needed. So
I sure hope not, because you've been wobbling around the garage with this giant sock. So it's been pretty interesting seeing that.
Yeah.
All right, but what's your pearl? Oh, you already gave me a pearl of wisdom. Wear booties.
What's your pearls of wisdom?
My pearl of wisdom is to ensure that you season your meats. Okay, you want salt and pepper on both sides of that fillet. People don't do that enough.
No, that is true. That is a good
right?
Great point. Great point.
Great point. So be sure, don't be shy. Don't put too much, but that meat, needs to get seasoned, and then when you're done cooking it, it needs to rest for at least 5-10 minutes. Will change your life.
I agree.
Okay.
Two very good points. Thank you guys for listening to Made in Lacrosse today. Be sure to follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms and follow me on social media at Moffitt46.